Well, joining me today is Ballus, who is the Athletics Barcelona correspondent who's covering Spain for us in Germany at the moment, and also our Spanish football writer, Dermot Corrigan. Gents, welcome to the show. Let's get stuck into why Lamine Yamal is so special. Paul, let's start with you. Obviously, a sensational debut season for Barcelona, but has it surprised you that he's done so well so quickly on the international stage and now almost dominating at the Euros as well?
It has and it hasn't, because you have to be surprised when a 16-year-old kid does what he's doing. That's for a start. But then knowing or seeing how he's performed throughout the season at Barcelona, the maturity of not just how he plays, but how he behaves, how he acts, how he speaks, how he takes on his job. You could see that this could happen. And then speaking to former managers in La Masia in Barcelona Academy, speaking really fondly of their character and how mature he was. I mean, you could see that he's a player that he's ready for that. But you never expect to see such an impact So not just in the semi-final, because we will remember these Euros and this semi-final game as the Lamine Yamal game, I'm sure. But I think that the impact that he's had in these Euros throughout all the phases since the group stage to the very end has been amazing. It's even hard for me, who has watched him throughout all season and I have written about him all season, to find words basically to describe what he's doing in a rational way, because it's not rational, it's not normal, it's just a rare prodigy that I guess that we have to enjoy, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's not rational, it's not normal. And you know that it's exceptional when the King of Spain walks into the dressing room, Dermot, and almost double takes and has to just double check. Yeah, how old are you? It was a great exchange that we saw in the dressing room, wasn't it? And we also have to put into the context as well that he's literally doing his studies and his exams during this tournament at the same time. So he's spinning an educational plate as well as spinning up opponents on the football pitch too.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening. It's just not normal for a 16-year-old kid or 17 on Saturday to be in this situation. Even the way the Spanish Federation have to follow certain protocols because he's a minor, when they're in the dressing room, when they're traveling to the games, all this kind of stuff that you have to do, because this is just a special case, a completely unique case in world football. And it's almost an advantage to him being so young, because he doesn't realize what's going on. He's not grown up enough to know the pressure that he should be feeling, to understand what it's like to be playing in front of millions of people, to have 48 million Spanish people cheering him on, or most of the 48 million Spanish people cheering him on, and to have, to be the best player on the team. Maybe Rodri's really good in midfield, and Laporta's been really good at the back. But, when Spain look for inspiration, when they look for something going forward, he's been the one, almost been good as well in Nico Williams. But in that moment when Spain were rocking in the game, France had scored, Jesus Navas was on a yellow, Mbappe looked like he might be about to hit form, and best player in the world, supposedly Mbappe might be about to hit form. And it's the 16-year-old kid who puts his foot on the ball, who takes on Rabiot, who he'd had the interaction with on social media or in the press conference the day before, and has just the ability to put it in the top corner. So many other older players in that situation would be like, oh, I'm not sure, we need to calm down, we need to get the ball under possession, or maybe I need to do something really quickly and shoot too fast and it gets blocked. And he just is in this kind of state of grace. I think it helps, as I said, because he's so young, he's not aware of what's going on, and he just does the natural thing for him, which is, take the ball, make a bit of space, take my time, place it in the top corner, and Spain are back in the game and on the way to the final.
We'll get into two notable things in a moment. Obviously, the picture of a very, very young Lamine Yamal and Lionel Messi, but also you mentioned it there, Dermot, about the exchange with Rabiot of France. Paul, just sort of for people who aren't aware of it and the background to that exchange, just take us through it, because it was amazing to obviously see the goal, see the performance, but then for him to have the presence of mind to sort of go, well, there you go, I told you so. It was perfect for him and for Spain, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that it all escalated in a way that Even Rabiot wasn't like really expecting this, because Rabiot was trying to be complimenting of Lamine Yamal, but then at the end of his quote basically said, okay, we're going to try to make him like prove us more, basically, if he wants to be to the final of what he's done so far. But yeah, you know how social media works, how everything is. Lamine Yamal is a guy who spends like basically half of his day like in social media, like every teenager that we have right now. And he basically, he saw that quote and he took it as a challenge. He likes that. He loves that. He loves this sort of like having this banter, this sort of like, and he took that personally. Then he posted like a story on the day before the game saying, okay, don't speak too much until it's time to say checkmate. That was clearly a message like related to these words, to this challenge that the French team just put to him. In terms of the game, we all saw what happens basically, and like as Dermot was like pointing out here, just like to make it like more special and more like funny, if you want to call it that way, he just scored that top beans goal in the face of Adrien Rabiot, which made basically like the picture even more perfect, and the message that Lamine Yamal wanted to send after the game, even more fitting.
Dermot, from your point of view, and watching all the football that you have watched, how surprised are you that you've got a player obviously with the technical skills at the age that he is, but also the sort of the steeliness and the bite in the challenges that you would only expect from someone in their mid-20s, perhaps. The fact that he is quite willing, obviously, as we've seen on social media, to give it out, but also on the pitch as well, which is, I mean, there was one exchange with Theo Hernandez where he got his own back after a challenge on the touchline, and then I think he might have followed through a little bit more on a shot that obviously then connected with Hernandez, and you just thought, he knows what's going on the football pitch.
For sure. Like he's grown up playing on the streets. He comes from, I don't want to, make this the determining factor too much in his personality, but he does come from a difficult background. One of the areas in Spain with the biggest social problems. There's a lot of immigration in Mataró where he grew up, and he's come through that. He's was whisked away to Barcelona quite early to train with them and to go into La Masia and to be formed there. But he still has that kind of edge to him for sure. He has that pride, I guess, in himself, that he doesn't want to be knocked down, that he's preternaturally kind of confident or mature in what he does. And he knows that it's about competing as well. It's not just about like going on a mazy dribble, or even sometimes you see young kids who are, super fast and maybe stronger than the other people of their age and are able to score great goals, or they arrive into La Liga or the Premier League or whatever, and on their debut they score a brilliant goal and suddenly everybody is talking about them. But then they disappear for a couple of weeks. The coaches take them out of the team, or when they do put them into the team, they're not up to it. Younger players can often play in flashes of genius. You can see that they have the potential to do it, but doing it consistently week in, week out is beyond them, and understandably so, because they are still so young. But Lamine Yamal hasn't had that problem at all. As Paul says, for Barcelona, Xavi put him into the team age 15 in a difficult moment for Barcelona because, all the problems that there are at Barca, the financial problems, but they still had a lot of quite good players. They had Dembele, who could play on the wing, but often it was Lamine who was ahead of him. And in the past season, for Xavi, he was, one of the most important players, a player that even, guys in their 20s, guys who've won La Ligas, guys who've played in World Cups, were looking to him to do something on the pitch, to get the ball to when we were in trouble against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, when Barca were rocking, he was the guy who, knew what was needed in the situation to try and get them back into the tie. And again, trying to explain it is difficult, because he's just one in a million, or a unique guy who we've never seen anybody like this before. But he does already seems to have the complete package. We can get into how we need to protect him and not, expect too much of him at this stage. He's going to need to have some rest next year. He's going to need to be carefully manage his body, his mental development. Everything is going to have to be looked after. But for the moment, it's just tremendous what he's doing.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing from Rodri after the game against France, and he said that he played like only a few chosen ones can do. And he obviously was referencing the goal, but also really praising the defensive work that he does. He said the recoveries, the tracking back, how he helped out the fullback. It's been outstanding for a guy his age. I personally really rate this. Paul, in terms of the role that he has to fulfill in this Spain side, yes, he'll get the headlines for the goals, for the crosses, and for the tight control in tight spaces. But where does he fit in? What is that role more than the eye-catching stuff?
Yeah, so primarily, he has to be like an attacking threat, and this system that Spain is playing has been designed for the two open wingers to be like the source of attacking situation for Spain. So Nico Williams and especially Lamine Yamal, they need to be focused on attack, and Luis de la Fuente wants them like to be focused on attack and to creating chances for Alvaro Morata, for Fabian Ruiz, for Mikel Merino, for Rodri, whoever plays up front. But like when you get to the to the late stages of a competition like this, and especially like in a team when you have the likes of Carvajal, of Rodri, who has played in the Champions League big stages as well, they know that it takes you more than that to win and to make the difference. And to improve Lamine Yamal, like in several departments, has been a priority for them. We could see that in the quarterfinal game against Germany, he was taken off after 60 minutes, basically because Spain felt that probably they need more of a defensive approach to their wingers, a player who tracked back and that had the physicality just to run more miles, basically. That's something that the team and the teammates are constantly trying to make Lamine Yamal keep improving. And that's something that they insisted pretty much ahead of the semi-finals, just to try to avoid France to break on the counter was a priority for Spain. And I think that Lamine Yamal succeeded, as just Rodri said. This was one of the big focuses on the game. Like if Lamine Yamal could hold 90-minute game at this stage with the physicality that France requires, and I think that he showed that he's a fast learner. Anytime that a teammate tells him, look, you should probably be doing this in that situation, he just gets it so quickly. And that's at the end of the day as well what has made him has this role and this place and be a starter at Spain and be the main star of Barcelona for sure towards next season.
Yeah, I just come in there on what possible about being a fast learner. For sure, we're watching him growing up and develop game by game. Like against Germany, he was taken out because De La Fuente was worried that if you play with the two open wingers, that Germany are going to have too much of the ball, they're going to come back. And it almost cost Spain in the tournament. You know, Germany equalised, they went to extra time. You know, they went through, but it almost cost Spain. And against France in the semi, Lamine was much more, for me, got back a lot more. It wasn't just that he was left on, it was that he was much more diligent. And he had picked it up, as Paul said, like in a couple of days, he's developed as a player into a much more rounded player. And it speaks to just the football intelligence that he has, the general maturity and general intelligence that he has. He's not just, again, you know, sometimes young players are physically incredible and they're super fast and they can be strong and technically amazing, ability to dribble past four players or to stick the ball in the top corner. He has that, but he also has the emotional intelligence, the football intelligence, just the general intelligence to know what's needed in different situations, to pick up things quickly. And that's another reason, or just as important a reason maybe, that he has been able to have such an impression on adult football being so young.
Now, obviously, the obvious comparison that people are going to make with a young star at Barcelona is with Lionel Messi. Now, from your experience, how does he rank alongside Messi at this age?
At this age, Messi was not playing in the first team, let alone like the national team and being like a difference maker in there. But at the same time, like you ask like around Barcelona, everyone like pushes you away to try to draw comparisons with Messi or to put him in the same category as Messi. They don't want just anyone to have like this pressure to have to match the expectations basically that Messi created like every day. But deep inside, they know that they have a talent that they haven't ever had probably, even since Messi. I mean, that's going to be the constant talk that with Barcelona media or the atmosphere around the club just hypes up young players and just draws like, who is going to be the next Messi? This kid is going to be the next Messi. And it's probably happened like with Ansu Fati, a player who has a struggle like with injuries. There's been also like the talk about wearing the number 10 shirt at Barcelona. But Lamine Yamal feels different once again. He feels that the ease with he plays, I think that Barcelona has also the background experience of the cases of Ansu Fati and Pedri, who wasn't like a La Masia graduate, but he was a young player that made like his breakout on the first team quite young, early in his career as well. And they had this experience of like Pedri playing over 70 games a season. Then in the next following 3 seasons, Pedri has struggled a lot with injuries. So learning from that, Barcelona and Lamine Yamal have agreed to not go to the Olympics games, which is like a decision that the player has made just to protect himself, because he knows that he is 16, that he still has to grow up, and that a lot of things need to improve. So I think that this tells you like that Barcelona are like ready to make everything that it takes, basically, to make sure that this is not going to be just like another talent that is converted into a broken toy at some point. They don't want that. They want him to become, basically like the next generational talent. They know that Lamine Yamal has the mindset for it. His entourage is working really hard to make sure that Lamine Yamal is on the right track. I can see that the comparisons with Messi are just being drawn because it's inevitable. But like in the shortest term, like what everyone wants in Barcelona is to avoid that. Just not put Lamine Yamal the pressure to be the next Messi, because he has to be Lamine Yamal. And then with some years on, we will judge and we will decide what he will be.
The problem is that there's that picture, isn't there, Dermot? And it was almost like some sort of religious anointment, some sort of baptism of the next chosen one. And that has obviously broken through to a wider audience. I spoke to my wife about it. She said, this picture, this is like amazing. For people who don't know about it, just explain the context. And you spoke to the photographer about it as well for The Athletic. So just give us a story, because it's outstanding, isn't it?
It's incredible, and I still find it hard to believe. There's part of me that still can't actually believe that it did happen. But spoke to Joan Monfort, who used to work for Catalan Diario Sport, who took the photo. It was December 2007. Barcelona and UNICEF and some other NGOs in the city were doing a charity calendar where they take photos with 12 different players alongside 12 different kids from different backgrounds, different areas. Lamine Yamal's family won a lottery to get to be able to go to the Camp Nou to take the photos. So Joanna is left with a 20-year-old Messi who's, quite shy guy. We said that Messi with the floppy hair, the teenage kind of look that Messi had, and a 7-month-old baby and his mom. So it was a very professional job done by the photographer to be able to get them so relaxed looking and look like they're enjoying themselves in the photo. But he did it, and it's just tremendous. I was going to say the personality of both comes across. Personality of Messi comes across because he's, he has always been kind of more, or especially at that age anyway, was more comfortable with younger players and got on well with kids. You see what a great relationship he seems to have with his own kids as well. He's a family guy. Lamine was a baby at that time, but they got him to not to cry and to look happy in Leo's hands. The idea that something passed over in that moment and all is beautiful and poetic and everything. Who am I to say that it didn't happen? I can't say for sure that it didn't, but it's just been tremendous. And the story has gone everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. It's been great for us on the New York Times as well. And the fact that at the moment, they're both going to be playing finals now on Sunday as well. Messi and Argentina in the Copa America in the States, and Lamine having played such a huge role in Spain getting to the final as well. It's just one of those amazing things that only come along in, for us to cover, never seem to come along, but it has.
And Paul, for people who aren't aware, just, not that long after that photo was taken, clearly he had a ball at his feet, because he is only 16 now. And yes, he will be 17 by the time that the final takes place on Sunday. But when was he first discovered as a talent? When did they first know they had something special on their hands at La Masia?
Basically, like when you speak to the guy who spotted him when he was playing at La Torreta at a local club next to where his mom was living. So basically, Lamine Yamal joined Barcelona at the age of 7, and since that age, basically, he was like starting, just making the difference for the club. There are like a lot of like moments highlighted. Throughout his career, there's been a lot of like international tournaments that he's played with Barcelona. There's like the famous one that was played in New York in 2019, if I'm not wrong, where he was the MVP of the tournament. He scored 8 goals. Barcelona won 6-1 to Real Madrid into the final, and like everyone was like, "Wow, this guy that Barcelona has is going to be amazing." It's still like 2019. That's just like 5 years ago. Jesus, that's mad. Since that moment. Everyone knew that he was to be like an unprecedented talent. Then when Joan Laporta was re-elected back in 2021, if I'm not wrong, they already knew like one of the club's priorities had to be like to extend his contract. Lamine Yamal was still 15 or 14 maybe, but they knew that they had to keep close tabs on Lamine Yamal because he was like a huge prospect. He still hadn't made like his debut for the second team or for the first team, but like the projection was this. He had to be like the biggest bet on the club's academy. Then he switched his agents for George Mendes, which was like the stepping stone to get like into this big contract and to get basically this pathway to the first team football that we've seen, and this big explosion that I think that if you ask Barcelona, his teammates, and even like guys around him, no one could expect that.
Now, for people who are listening and thinking, I'd love to have Lamine Yamal at my club, we will get on to his contract situation. We'll talk about his future in a moment's time. But Dermot, from the point of view of La Liga, you think about the young talent that is in the league. Obviously, you've got someone who's slightly older in Kylian Mbappe, now going to be playing for Real Madrid alongside Jude Bellingham. Real Madrid also have Endrick. Barcelona obviously have Lamine Yamal. They have other talented players as well. Is there a feeling in the league that we are now getting into the point where, yes, we've fully got over losing that battle between Ronaldo and Messi now, and we're looking forward to the next 10, 15 years of potentially Endrick or Lamine Yamal having a similar sort of battle?
I'd say that up until very recently, the feeling around La Liga was that might be stuck with a Real Madrid dominating everything, because Barca have had so many financial problems and Madrid have come through a sticky spot during COVID, but they're just after opening the new Bernabeu is more or less open now. It's fantastic. It's a revenue generating machine, and they have all these brilliant young players who are coming towards the peak of their career, like Vinicius, added Bellingham last summer, and now Mbappe is coming, supposedly at the peak of his career, with Endrick as well coming at the start of his. So there was a fear maybe that it would become a Real Madrid and everybody else type of a league, that you wouldn't have that classical battle that we were so used to going back to, Pep versus Mourinho, Leo versus Cristiano. At that stage also you had, Xavi and Iniesta on one side and Iker Casillas and Sergio Ramos on the other side. Puyol, Piqué, Xabi Alonso, so many big names at that stage. Now it looks like you might have the Madrid of the superstars against the Barcelona of the emerging talents. That you have, Lamine Yamal has come along just at the perfect moment, but you also have Gavi, Pedri, Balde, Pau Cubarsí, really young 17-year-old centre-back who's been brilliant for Barca this season. And that sets up, if not a battle of equals, it sets up a battle of opposites between the Galacticos at Madrid against the emerging stars, the homegrown Spanish stars at Barcelona. That's the hope. We'll see how that turns out. Everybody at Barca is still very young and they have to develop. But for the first Clásico, you can imagine this coming up in the autumn time. That could be the billing of the Galacticos against the tremendous kids.
And Paul, just take us into... obviously, you can hear and you can see the value that Lamine Yamal has to Barcelona. But is he all sort of wrapped up and nailed down with a proper contract, considering his age? I mean, how is it sorted out? Because as mentioned right at the beginning of the show, Dermot mentioning that he's still a minor. What are the rules at the moment that apply to him contractually?
Yeah, so basically he signed his last contract extension on October last year. This contract extension runs up until 2026, when Lamine Yamal is expected to be 19. He has a 1 billion euros release clause in that contract, so it's a bit hard for like any foreign teams like to get him away from Barcelona. But despite his contract runs up until 2026, there's a sort of like gentleman agreement between the club and the player to like start talks over a new contract on 2025, just a year earlier than that, which is when Lamine Yamal is going to be 18, and the club is entitled like to offer him like a new sort of conditions, an improved salary. Basically, and a status more adapted to the importance that he's expected to have. So basically, in the last contract extension that Barcelona and Lamine Yamal signed, it's basically agreed that he has his footer tight until 2026, but in 2025, they are going to talk about a new extension that supposedly is going to run until 2030. If like the idea that both parties has, this is the sort of gentleman agreement that when it arrives to the point, it's going to have to be discussed, of course, but like the first foundations of the next two contracts of Lamine Yamal has already been sorted, basically.
Yeah, the gentleman's agreement part there is really important, I think, because for one reason, one part of that legally, they can't actually sign something. It's interesting that he has already has a super agent in Jorge Mendes, and Barca are going to have to just rely on him. If Lamine Yamal continues to develop as he is, they're going to have to rely on his feeling of being a Barcelona fan, his connection to the club, to the area, because other clubs are going to be able to pay him a lot more money than Barcelona are going to be able to pay him. Barcelona's financial issues are still there. We'll see what kind of levers or what happens later on this summer for them to be able to strengthen their squad, or if that's possible or not. But it's going to have to be an emotional attachment that keeps Lamine Yamal at Barcelona for the foreseeable future rather than a financial attachment. If you talk to some of the people who are maybe anti-Laporta or who don't think Laporta is doing a great job, and people start to wonder how maybe change might come at Barcelona, the tipping point that they see is not that, the club would have to, for Laporta to lose the support of the fans. It's not that, they do some more levers or some more financial maneuvers. It's that they have to start selling their best young players, people like Gavi or Pedri or Pau Cubarsí. Even if Ronald Araujo was sold, I don't think it would be the end of the world for a lot of Barca fans. But the very idea that Lamine Yamal might play for somebody else, might move somewhere else, is quite worrying for some Barca fans, I think, and is going to be unless Barca can get their finances sorted in the short to medium term, it's going to be something we're talking about all the time, up to the point where they can tie him down to a nuts and bolts contract legally, which is still quite a way away.
Do we have any indication as to what he thinks about where he would like to be playing? Have we got to that point, considering he is only 16? Has he been asked? Has he had representatives actually saying, well, no, I would love to be here due to the fact that I've been nurtured at this club? And obviously Xavi last season really sort of ensured his transition into the first team was meticulously planned and successful. So even at this early age, he obviously has a great loyalty to Barcelona, right, Paul?
Yeah. Anytime that he's been asked, he's highlighted the fact that he's Barcelona boyhood fan, basically. I think that he also feels that it's the right moment for a young player to be at Barcelona, because I think that for all of them, they feel that they are in the right place at the right time. Barca is forced basically to trust their academy prospects, and Lamine Yamal is going to find here a space to shine and to bright. Then once he's established, he might be established now as a world star, but as he keeps getting older, it's going to be Barcelona's duties to keep surround him with with a group of players that allows him to fight for titles, because at the end of the day, this is what he will want to. I think that in the case of Messi, Barcelona sort of managed it very well, because they managed to do the transition from the Ronaldinho era to then to the new era really swiftly. But that's going to be a challenge for Barcelona in the coming years. I was just going to say that this is going to be a challenge for Barcelona, but at the same time, the rumors and the news about Barcelona already receiving offers from other clubs has already started. Joan Laporta I think that admitted some months ago that the club has rejected a 200 million offer. When Laporta speaks, you never know if that's a fact or not, or if it's more like talking big just to praise one of his players. But the fact that a lot of clubs would be interested in like signing him, I have no doubts about that. And if he would become available, I'm sure that a lot of clubs would be willing to do like some crazy business stuff just to get the deal done. But yeah, as Dermot was just saying, for now, like just imagining this in the mind of a lot of Barcelona fans, this is just like something that cannot happen right now.
Just picking up on what Paul said there, because it made me think of something that, like, all the way along with Messi, Barca had to keep him happy in order to make him say Messi was super attached to Barca and remained super attached. Would still be playing for Barca now. I think if things had turned out differently, Messi, even though he seems to be enjoying himself in Miami a lot. But Barca presidents for years were really worried about keeping Messi happy. That meant giving him, pay rises almost every year. It meant signing players that Messi himself always denied, and people around him, that Messi was picking out, the choosing transfer targets. But the executives were aware that, he was going to get on well with Luis Suarez, that he liked Neymar, that he had different people who he would like to play with, and they ended up coming to Barcelona. That ended up causing problems for the club, but it was worth it, I think, because they won so many titles. Messi won 5 Champions League, so many La Liga titles, was, so decisive in so many Clásicos against Real Madrid. When you have a talent like Messi, and without going too far, like that Lamine Yamal appears to be, if he keeps progressing the way he is, then it just becomes the whole focus of a club that Barcelona will do everything to keep him. It'll all be built around him. The marketing off the field will also be built around him. It's not like Messi was the most open guy for photo shoots, as we were talking about before, but he was still the guy who sold most jerseys, who, was most interesting for corporate partners, all the things that Barca need to do to attract fans from all around the world as well. Having somebody like Lamine Yamal from that type of background that he has, with parents from different countries, different cultures, that's super interesting as well from a commercial point of view. So it's a blessing for Barcelona for him to come along at this stage when they really need somebody to save them in a way. Again, if that's not putting too much pressure on the kids' shoulders, it's just again, it's such a unique situation and such a fascinating one.
And Paul, do we expect Lamine Yamal to take the sort of the iconic number 10 shirt and really have the weight of Messi literally on his shoulders?
It's been a conversation that it's already on in Barcelona, and he's been asked about that. He's quite up for the challenge. He would love that. He said that he would love to have the number 10, but at the same time, this now belongs to Ansu Fati. And as much as we all might think that Ansu Fati is not the player that a lot of people expected, he's still Ansu Fati. He's still a first team member. He still has a number, and this has to be respected. But yeah, it's something that has been on the cards. It's going to be a decision to be made like from the dressing room, but also like from the management, because having like such a big name with Lamine Yamal with the number 10, it's quite tempting in terms of like selling T-shirts and like from the marketing side of the club. But yeah, it's a conversation that it's quite on. Let's see what happens with the future of Ansu Fati and how like Lamine Yamal and Hansi Flick and Joan Laporta want to manage him basically. But yeah, I'm sure that it's going to happen at some point. And that's the plan that Barcelona has, that at some point Lamine Yamal will wear or should wear the Barcelona number 10 shirt. I don't know if it has to be this season, especially like given what we've seen from Ansu Fati, which has been like another extra layer of pressure to deal with. But yeah, it's something that is going to be happening for sure, in my opinion, at some point.
Last couple of questions. Dermot, I wanted you to just pick up your crystal ball and fast forward to 2028 when Lamine Yamal will be, he'll be elderly. He'll be 21 years old. Where do you see him playing his football? Because I can't work out whether there is anyone, if he continues on this trajectory, that will be able to necessarily afford him. So where do you think he will be playing?
I have to say at Barcelona, it's really hard for me to even imagine him playing anywhere else, especially at 21. Maybe later on in his career, he goes to play in the States or whatever. But it will be so damaging for Barca, the soul of the club, were he to leave. Even, they could, our Barcelona president, whether Laporta or not, could say, look, our club has serious financial problems. I inherited most of them from the previous president. I need to fix the club. Lamine Yamal. They could make an argument. Look at Ansu Fati. Sometimes these kids, it doesn't always work out the way that we think. We have it, whether it's a €1 billion offer from Paris Saint-Germain or whoever. So for the good of the club, I'm going to take it and pay off all their debts and reset Barcelona. That might make logical sense, but I don't think any Barcelona fans want that to happen or would accept that happening. So I just can't see it going. They're going to have to maybe rely on his loyalty, play up the feeling that he has with the club, surrounding with people who he gets on well with, give in to some of his demands, maybe give in to some of his agent's demands as well. But the idea of them selling him is will be just so difficult to take, difficult even for me as a kind of neutral and somebody who's been critical of Barcelona in the past in some instances. It still just seems impossible to think of them selling somebody like that, just because it's football. It's so special. It's not business. It's not an industry. This is football. This is why we're all here, why we love watching him play so much. And yeah, hopefully he stays at Barcelona.
That's for the future. Let's deal with the current pressing situation. Finally, Paul, I wanted a word from you. Obviously, Lamine Yamal will be facing up against probably Kieran Trippier. Maybe Luke Shaw might be given the start. Whoever he's up against, it will obviously be a test for the England left-sided defender. But overall, who's taking the Euros title? Who's going to be lifting the trophy at the end, do you think?
I'm sorry about you guys, but I think Spain is going to take it. I think that they've been the first team. They've been the best team, for quite a distance. And it feels like a lot of things have been put together, a lot of good momentum, a lot of the Dani Olmo emergence, making the Pedri injury looking like nothing, the Mikel Merino goal against Germany, a lot of stuff that smells like champions. So given the way that they've been playing, this sort of momentum that they've been able to build, I'm going to go for Spain.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. However much I think that you may be right, I do hope that you're wrong, but do enjoy the final. And thank you so much for your coverage throughout the Euros. Dermot, thanks to you as well for being on the show. Don't forget, we will have another Totally Football show reacting to the final on Sunday night. We've got our daily football briefing as well, which has been running throughout the Euros and also the Copa America. And then we will be back here on the Athletic FC podcast on Monday for all of the fallout and perhaps the celebration of the Euros final in Berlin for England. Perhaps. Take care. Have a great weekend.
If you want to watch more episodes of the show, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be joined by the likes of David Ornstein, Matt Slater, Adam Crafton, Carl Anker, and plenty more through the season. If you'd like to listen to the episodes in full in audio form, search The Athletic FC wherever you get your podcasts from.